Okay, you're not gonna believe this. What if I told you an entire species was basically a lie?
No, I'm serious. A bird that we've all known and classified for centuries is completely fooling us, hiding in plain sight.
A lie? Come on. Birds don't lie. They're birds. Let me guess. This is about the yellow wagtail again, isn't it? I knew it.
I mean, look at the actual biology here. It's a textbook case of a polytypic species. You've got the classic blue-headed form over in Western Europe, pretty straightforward.
And then you get the really striking black-headed one out in Central Asia.
See? Distinct. That's my whole point. They look different because it's all part of this grand deception.
No, they look different because that's what geographical variation is. You have the eastern ones too. They're just different versions of the same bird. One species, a lot of variety. It's not a conspiracy theory, it's just biology 101.
Look, the way we've always done this is based on common sense. You classify an animal based on what it looks like, right? It's morphology. That's how taxonomy has worked forever, for a reason.
And here's the kicker. They hybridize. Where their territories overlap, they interbreed and you get these blended intergrades. Now, under the biological species concept, that's the end of the argument. If they can have viable babies together, they're the same species, case closed.
So yeah, I'm on team appearance. You can see it, you can measure it, it's how they exist in the real world. Oh, but you're only reading the cover of the book. Appearance is just the disguise. Ancestry, the genetics, that's where the story completely falls apart. You're so focused on the uniform, you're not even seeing the spy.
No, listen to this part. This is where it gets crazy. The DNA evidence doesn't just poke holes in that neat little theory, it blows it to smithereens. It's not a family tree. It's a bunch of completely different family photos that someone tried to glue together.
Turns out, the Yellow Wagtail Complex is what scientists call non-monophyletic. And that's just a fancy way of saying they aren't actually one family. The whole group is an artificial construct. We basically put sharks and dolphins in the same category just because they both have fins.
Okay, look at the numbers. The genetic difference between all those Western birds, the blue-headed, black-headed, all of them, is less than 0.5%. They're all super close relatives.
Right, so they're related. That supports my case.
Wait for it. The genetic difference between that entire Western bunch and the Eastern group is 6%. A whopping 6%.
6? Hold on. Are you serious? 6% in genetics that's a chasm. That's way more than the difference between some birds we consider totally separate species.
Exactly. It's not just big, it can be twice as big as the gap between other birds that no one would ever dream of calling the same species. The blue-headed wagtail you see in Europe is more genetically distant from the eastern wagtail than a common white wagtail is from a Japanese wagtail. The yellow feathers? A total coincidence.
Okay. Wow. All right, you have my attention. So if they aren't really related, then why in the world do they look so darn similar? How does that even happen? See, now you're asking the right questions. It's because they're all spies wearing the same disguise to do the same job.
It is a perfect example of convergent evolution. You have two totally separate, unrelated groups of birds. They both faced the same problem. How do we survive and find mates in wide open grasslands? And they both independently came up with the exact same answer. This specific yellow and gray-headed look. Think of it like this. It's an evolutionary spy ring. The mission for both groups is surviving in grassy fields. The uniform you need for that mission is this specific set of colors and head patterns. So you have these two sets of agents, the Eastern team and the Western team, and they look like they're on the same side. But the DNA test proves they've never even met. They're from rival agencies that just happen to pick the same disguise.
And you know, now that you say that, it makes perfect sense. The lie goes deeper than just DNA. The Eastern and Western groups have totally different calls. They literally don't speak the same language. Even their hind claws are shaped differently, for different kinds of ground. The plumage was the only thing fooling us, because that was the one thing driven by their shared environment.
Exactly, which leads to this massive, kind of philosophical question. If this one bird we were all so sure about is actually two separate lineages just pretending, then what does the word species even mean anymore?
Because it's not as simple as just splitting it into two. Based on the genetic data, you could build a solid argument for splitting the yellow wagtail into as many as 9 different species.
You've got to be kidding me. 9 from 1? That's chaos. That throws everything into chaos.
But I get the logic now. If you throw out the old biological species concept and adopt the phylogenetic one, which is purely about shared ancestry, then you have to follow the DNA. It's a much harder line. It basically says if you don't have a unique recent common ancestor, you're not the same, period. It doesn't matter what you look like or who you can breed with. Your history is everything. Right? The yellow wagtail was a convenient story we told ourselves because it's what our eyes saw. And it really makes you think, doesn't it? If nature can pull off a deception this perfect, what other lies are just out there, flying around, waiting for us to finally check their DNA?
I'm not sure I want to know. I think I need to go pull out all my field guides and just question my entire life.